Can we have them?
I'd like to call this meeting of the Municipal Council to order at 7:04. Sorry for the few-minute late start. Mr. Withers, would you kindly do a roll call attendance?
Yes, I will. Mr. Blair.
Here.
Ms. DeSimone.
Here.
Mr. Conti.
Present.
Mr. Waterman.
Present.
Vice President Jackson.
Here.
Mr. Delisio.
Present.
Mr. Kobus.
Here.
Ms. Dolan.
Here.
Ms. Reynolds.
Here.
Ms. Holmes.
Present.
President Cooper.
Here.
All are in attendance.
Thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion is in order. The reason for suspending the rules tonight is we have two guests before the council this evening. One is the police chief, and the second is the fire chief. First up will be the police chief. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote will begin with Councillor Holmes.
Ms.
I think, right?
Ms. Holmes?
Yeah,
Yes.
did we start with Blair first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Lucio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. We are now operating under suspended rules. Before we get to the chiefs, quickly, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th, September 21st, October 19th, and
October 5th.
October 5th.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote will begin with Councillor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. At this time, I'd welcome the police chief to the podium, and I recognize Councillor Blair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Kyle, for coming this evening. This is basically an informational session for my fellow councilors. The son down at the schools. If you could explain basically how they work.
Sure. Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to address this honorable body. I'm in here tonight to speak in favor of the shooter detection system. Shooter detection system is a state-of-the-art, proactive, active shooter system that would alert the PD directly should a, God forbid, an active shooter enter our schools, I should say. It's the entire school system, not just the high school, the new high school. They would alert us within a second of an activation or detection of a shots fired incident. This shooter detection system has been used in the federal government. It is from the DARPA system. That's Defense Department. It's the arm of the Defense Department that does all the technology investment into new programs, scientific programs, and what have you. That's where it originated from. The Defense Department Research Projects Agency, DARPA. So it was heavily used in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's used throughout courthouses, schools, government buildings. It's heavily used in retail agencies now and their headquarters. Heavily not advertised, but it is being used. They don't like to advertise the installment. There is a company in Attleboro, a very large company, that's recently installed it. They're using the same system that we're attempting to purchase, that we put out the bid. It's called the Guardian system by Shooter Detection System. It is a Massachusetts company. What does this system do, and why should we purchase it? It's a system that will alert the police department immediately, within seconds. If a active shooter incident happens, the detections around the school will instantly, within millimeter seconds, send the alert right to the police dispatch, to all the officers, to the school staff, to any SMS messaging that we want, school superintendent, principals, mayor, city councilors, that an alert has happened. I can't tell you how impressive I was to go and watch this system. Because of any type of one of these incidents should occur in Attleboro, it's seconds that counts. Seconds. Believe me when I say that. And if you don't believe me, I'll back it up. Well, you can watch any YouTube video on active shooters, and especially the training. The Parkland shooting in Florida is a vivid example of what I'm talking about. Seconds count. In most stressful incident, the human body, the untrained human body especially, will go into a fight or flight right after shock, if they ever come out of shock. Some people freeze. Trained public safety are able to respond and get through that acquisition of detection of what's going on and actively engage. However, the response to our schools is vital, and the seconds count. I can't overemphasize that these buildings are probably the most precious buildings in the entire city. Our children. A lot of our council members have children, some young, some older, and it's an unnerving feeling when you are handing off your child to someone for 8 hours of a day, sometimes longer. You're trusting them with the care and protection of your child, the child you brought into this world. I mean, that's significant. We will be one of the most proactive school departments, city, and police departments in the Commonwealth activating, having this system, installing this system. It would be forward thinking. When these incidents happen, it does take sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes even 10 minutes for a notification to happen. This system removes all the human involvement. There's multiple detectors around the school that picks up the acoustic sound. It has 0 false activations, 0. The technology is absolutely superior. If you can think of our most sensitive buildings in the federal government around DC, in DC, this system, what I'm talking about, is there. And for Councilor Kobus, who was honorably served our country, I believe in Afghanistan, sir? He would be familiar with the boomerang system. This is similar to the boomerang system on what they have in Afghanistan and Iraq. So what this system also will do is it will also integrate to our existing camera system. So once the activation happens, there's a screen in dispatch that lies in wait. If an activation should happen, God forbid, the screen activates. Whatever on that screen at that point in time, this system takes over that screen, pinpoints where those shots are happening in the school. So we, as police officers, can respond effectively, timely, directly. We don't have to wait for human intelligence. We don't have to wait for someone under a desk, hiding, trying to explain to us where in the school, where the shots are happening, where to respond to. We instantaneously know. The dispatchers can provide the information to the responding cars, and we can also put it on our laptops so the supervisors and the officers responding to an active shooter can see and pinpoint. What about other mass notifications? It can integrate into that. So if the school has an emergency notification system, it can integrate right into that. It can integrate into a PA system. Once a shot is detected, lockdown protocols can instantaneously be activated. It's also certified through the Department of Homeland Security Safety Act. It's the only technology that has been certified by the DHS. Currently, there are several schools around Massachusetts that have them, namely Methuen, in Rhode Island, North Providence. The entire school system has installed the Guardian shooter detection system. If I had, I stand here and I'm speaking this, and I'm just, I almost have to apologize that I even have to stand before the council and ask for this because of what our society has turned into. It's shameful. I would have never dreamed that I would be the police chief one day and have to ask for the care and protection of a shooter detection systems in our schools. It's shocking. But years ago, we would say, oh, that would never happen here. That's never going to happen. The likelihood of that happening? Never. Never. It's sad that I can't say that anymore. And it's not the inner city schools. If you go back and just do a time history of 3 years, 4 years, even 5 years, the suburbs. It's the suburbs of where these active shooters are happening in the schools. Shocking, but I digress. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I just have one quick question, Chief. The technology or the system starting in the school system, I understand that, but is this what we're buying expandable or something that can be added on to do other municipal buildings if the city chose to do that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions from the council at this time? I see Council Cobus and Council Conti and Council Jackson.
All right, I think I was late with having my hand up, but first of all, Chief Agnew, thanks for coming in, and thanks for everything you said. It all makes sense to me. And you're right, overseas in Afghanistan, we had the system that worked incredibly well and was the fastest thing to provide us data. My question for you is, with the system and the triangulation, can it go outside of the schools, and if there's a shooter somewhere else in Attleboro, will we be able to get data on that as well, or is it strictly triangulating in towards the school? If that's not something you want to answer,
no, it's a good question. Some cities and communities in Massachusetts have a system called ShotSpotter. And that's the triangulation of where the shots are coming from. So prior to waiting for a 911 call to come in and say somebody's shooting a gun or there's a shots fired incident, it's a very similar principle. It's an instantaneous notification. We are not buying ShotSpotter, so we are buying an internal system in the schools. They look very similar to a fire alarm. Fire alarm sensor. They look very similar to that, and the technology is all mapped out throughout the school and on where, like hallways, twist turns, and everything else. The technology's it's
very different.
It's different but similar. I would similar to a cousin of a system, but if the city wanted to purchase a ShotSpotter system, then that would be an added additional feature.
Okay, thank you.
Council Conti.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Number one, I know that we used to have a police officer in the Attleboro High School. I don't know if we still do, but does this system eliminate the need to have officers on site at the schools?
I would say if you have a bad guy in a school, you want a good guy there with a gun.
So we're going to leave the officers in the schools. Is that the plan?
We have no plan of removing this, the SRO, school resource officer whatsoever, and I actually would support if we could get additional funding to put them in the middle schools.
I agree. The second question is that this is going to be going into a new high school. Is this going to be a change order to the contractor, or was this figured in at the beginning?
My understanding is that there is no change order, that this is a system that could be put into any existing school. We don't have to rip down walls or anything else, so all the other schools will be getting this system too if this honorable body decides to support the funding request. So it does not have to be an existing building under construction, I'm sorry. So.
Thank you. And my last question is, does the system work if the power goes out?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Vice President Jackson.
Thank you, President Cooper. Hello, Chief Hagney. It's nice to see you.
Councilor Jackson, thank you. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you ever so kindly. So my first question is, how soon can it be installed?
I think that would be depending on the vendor, assuming that this honorable body funds the request. I would assume that they could start work depending on what that schedule is. I don't know, but I can find out for you and get back to you on that.
No worries. Thank you very much. And with technology changing so much, by the time the high school opens up and we put that into the high school, do you think it would be a different system?
No.
No, it's okay.
No, this technology, if the military has it, it's been around for probably 25, 30 years perhaps, until it rolls onto the civilian side. So it's vetted very, very, very well.
Great. Thank you.
Any?
That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor DeSimone and then Delicio.
Thank you, President Cooper.
You're welcome.
Chief, thank you for coming down and speaking so powerfully in support of the system, and kudos to you and the administration for introducing this possibility. I just have one quick question. What's the service? Is this a contract? What's the service arrangement for this system? Should it need maintenance, repair, updating, et cetera?
I believe there'd be, like any other type of software, there'd be some type of technical support. I don't believe it's a purchase and drop, because the system would have to be serviced just like our camera system, like our software or our computer system. So I'm sure there's some type of annual fee that would have to be incorporated into the system, but I believe that would be coming out of the school budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And Councilor Delicio.
Thanks, President Cooper. Chief, as always, thanks for coming down, thanks for the information, thanks for taking my call a couple of weeks ago to discuss this. I really don't have a question, I have more of a comment. As you know, Chief, a couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to participate in active shooter drills. And I actually had my son with me who participated in it. Even though it was a drill, it was fake, it wasn't real. You walk out of there and you think about it and you're looking at your kid in that situation and he's holding on the gun or he's down on the ground or he's falling to get out. It brings home really the world that we're in. And when you said, you never think about it happening here, it can happen here. So I'm going to support this because I would rather have this and not need it than be in a situation where we need it and we don't have it. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And if I could just piggyback on what he said.
Absolutely.
The other components of active shooter, the prevention method with the councils in the high school, the adjustment council is in see something, say something, our training on a response to an active shooter, and also the school system itself having ALICE training, which we have police officers that are ALICE training also. And God forbid a response should be needed in this activation. So if you can envision 3 phases of what we're trying to do, and the notification phase is critical. Seconds count. Our kids, I can think of no other building in the city that we need a faster response to.
Thank you. Any additional questions for the police chief at this time? Oh, Councilor Waterman, I'm sorry, I didn't see you before.
That's fine, thank you. Chief, thank you very much for coming and supporting this so well. Can you kind of describe what the experience might be for the nearest patrol car to a school that this was happening in, and the officer that's driving that car? How quickly and would they know? Would they be waiting for the phone call, or would it be an instantaneous report to the patrol car itself?
The way the system works, it notifies dispatch within less than a second. It would also notify the patrol cars via their computer system, less than a second. And also phone systems, I was going to say pages, wow. They don't have pages.
Text.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kate, I appreciate that. So, any type of technology that we need to have this integrated with, it's available. So if you envision a large screen in dispatch, and all of a sudden this floor plan pops up and there's a green dot that's ringing with a sound and a visualization stimulus that a shot has been detected, it will pinpoint on the floor plan, whatever floor it is, where the shot is happening instantaneously. I assume that the schools would still dial 911 also. However, it removes the human element of it. Therefore, the officers on the street, the road, will get the notification and see the same thing we're seeing in dispatch. So, to answer your question, which I thought you were going down a different road, which I was going to say I wouldn't want to talk publicly about response times and where the beats are in the city and where they're drawn up from to, but I'd be happy if you want to have a discussion offline about that.
I wasn't going down that
Okay,
road.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions for the chief at this time? Councilor Blair?
I believe, I'm feeling like Mr. Conti right now with the loss of hearing in one ear. I believe that the high school construction is online for this. They're aware of it, and anything they need to do is being done for the installation of this
All right, I wasn't.
already.
All right.
That's what I've been
Okay.
told in this last week.
Thank you.
So it's more so, it's important to me that we stay with the curve and don't put any roadblocks in getting this in during construction. I know it's not a major tearing down walls and whatnot, but any of you that's been involved in construction or getting equipment and whatnot, if you can be proactive, it becomes that much more efficiently done. And I think it's imperative that it's proactive.
They'll probably reduce man-hour costs on labor installing it if it's under construction,
Yeah.
unlike the other schools where it's not under construction. So if there is access they have to get to, whatever, it might be a cost savings with that too. You never know.
Thanks, Kyle. I just wanted the rest of the councilors to know that that's
Yeah.
been thought of, and it's been mentioned to me that they're aware of it. It would facilitate the installation at the high school at a faster pace than if you wait till the high school's done and then go back and do it then.
Agreed. Any additional questions for the chief? Chief, again, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Stay safe. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Have a
you
good
as
night.
well.
Kyle, I'll be bringing this out for a vote later this evening.
All right, great. Perhaps you can give me a
Thank
phone
you.
call later. For you?
Huh?
I can talk to you by phone later? Or
Yeah,
after? All
later.
right, thank you.
Okay.
God bless.
Thank you.
very much, Kyle.
And next is the fire chief.
Right.
And he's joined us by Zoom. So, Chief, with that, I'll recognize Councilor Blair.
Chief LaChance, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. I won't be able to bring this motion out tonight. It'll be, I'll vote it out of committee next week and hopefully vote on it the following week. There's been questions that I can't answer. I have trouble with my cell phone. So I'm hoping what you can answer for our council is why you need this equipment, what you're lacking at the fire department that this new equipment will bring. I know that this has been on capital improvements for 4 or 5 years, an update on electronics?
At least 5 years.
Excuse me?
It's been on for at least 5 years.
Okay, so it's nothing new to Councilman Conti, I'm sure. But if you could give us a rundown of what this is going to do for you that you can't do now, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so basically in a nutshell, we have approximately 20 computers in the fire department, excluding the computers that are in dispatch. And basically the computers are used by the officers, all the administrative staff. Every incident that the fire department responds to, somebody has to do a incident report that is electronically recorded and submitted to the state fire marshal's office on a weekly basis. So there's an awful lot of administrative work that goes on behind the scenes to what we do all the time. Historically, for the fire department, to put things in perspective, when I first became the fire chief, we didn't have email. So I've been the chief since my 12th year. So just think about that. We had one generic email account for the entire fire department. And it took years to get, email addresses for the staff. So try to imagine communicating with a staff of over 100 employees where you don't even have email. So that's where we were 11, 12 years ago. Been working consistently with MIS Director Bill Lennox to try to upgrade our technology to bring us, closer to the 21st century. And in the process, what we've been forced to do is most of the time when we replace our computers, we get the computers that everybody else got rid of. Same way that I got every staff car in the fire department for 10, 15 years. Every car that we ever got was an old police cruiser that was no good for the police department. And when we got them, I spent about $3,000 to $5,000 fixing each car. And what I had was a car that was really of no use, not reliable, and we were spending boatloads of money on something that was already obsolete. That's what we're doing with our computers. We have computers that are not, that don't use the same operating software, the same versions of software. So we have all kinds of interoperability problems between myself, my secretary, the assistant chief, all of the day staff. On top of that, virtually no computers have capability of doing any kind of Zoom meeting. So half the stuff that we had to do during COVID was on cell phones and at people's houses because we don't have that technology. There's other issues too that I know that the city's working on. It's not just the computers. There's very poor bandwidth for broadband and internet for the not just the fire department, but for the city as well, which definitely impedes us quite a bit. But basically the problem we're running into is the computers don't have enough memory. They don't have fast enough central processors. The servers don't have the capability to support the software that we're using and trying to use. Every time we want to update our software, the vendor tells us we can't update it because the computers are obsolete. We contact MIS, and what we're forced to do is get a leftover computer that somebody turned in. It's better than we have, but it doesn't really solve the problem. So this is just simply to put us where we honestly should have been 5 years ago.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mike?
Yes, Council Blair and then Council Conti.
Thanks, Mark. Also, without this new computer system and getting this activated in the fire department, it hampers your training, I understand.
Yeah, a lot of our training, that's a good point, is especially not just with COVID, but even before COVID, a lot of our training is done online. We have a software system, it's virtual, so it's cloud-based, so it doesn't require a lot of space on the city server. It's called CenterLearn, which is our integrated training program that the training officer sends out weekly and monthly training to every member of the fire department. Plus the software uses video and sometimes it requires audio. So what ends up happening a lot of times is the firefighters, when they're trying to use this, they won't work on the computers, so they end up using it on their own cell phones. Some of them are doing it at home. All of the paramedic and EMT certification over the last couple of years of COVID, almost all of it's been done on computers. In the past, there were other options. There was a lot of in-person stuff, but a lot of the Department of Public Health is still not really doing most of the training in person. So it's definitely had an impact on our training.
Thank you. And, go ahead.
The chief, I heard you mention his name. Has Bill Lennox been involved in the specification and sourcing of the computers in the system all the way through?
Bill got the quotes for me.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So I simply told Bill where I needed computers and what else I was to do, and he set them all up.
Well, Chief, I gotta say, it's nice to see the department coming to the end of just the hand-me-downs. I mean, that's been going on too long. The same thing happened to the library. It's just, with technology, you just can't do that. And so I'm in full support of your initiative here. And
I appreciate that.
That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Council Black.
Hey, just to finish my comment, Chief, before, in other words, the long and the short of this, the new computers, the system upgrades will help you in training your men.
Yeah, well, that's one part. It'll definitely help in training, but it'll also, certain things that we do, because the computers are so obsolete, so slow, takes, may take a clerk an hour or two to do something, or it may take myself an hour or two to do it. And the computers have a, quicker operating than at that time and a half. So we're just, there's a lot of wasted time, but a lot of the things that we do every single day. We constantly see, we call it the blue wheel of death. Every time you try to open something up on the computer, you get that blue circle that just spins around for 5 minutes.
Great, thank you.
You want to recognize Kate?
Yeah. Council Jackson.
Thank you very much, Chief. So your new hires that are not paramedics or EMTs, will they be able to complete courses through these new computers, working online?
Any courses that they need to do, they'll be able to do just like anybody else. They can't really do a full EMT program or a paramedic program online, but they first responder training that they have to do. There's other classes that they can do, and all of the actual fire department courses that the training officer puts out, they can do that online too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Kobus.
Thank you, Chief LaChance. I applaud that we're moving beyond the hand-me-downs, but this $30,000 doesn't feel like enough, and I know there's quite a bit missing from here. Can you talk about some of the things that is not included in this request? I know, for instance, in the vehicle computers and all that stuff. What else are we missing?
Yeah, so this is basically just, I say, mostly administrative, to allow the staff to actually do the, for lack of a better term, the dirty work of their jobs. The mobile stuff for the trucks is something that we've been working on for ever since I've been there. So 20 plus years. The problem in the past that we've done, and this is not to not blaming anybody, it's just the way that it works, is we've gotten grants for systems that we purchased, and we had great ideas to go forward with them. And then once we started to launch them, the city's infrastructure is not capable of operating and supporting it. So you run into everything today that you use is using broadband and Wi-Fi uses a ton of capacity from the city's internet. Because you don't have a large enough broadband to do it. Bill Lennox can certainly speak more on this. That it just bogs everything down. So if you think about just our department, we certainly don't have 100 people online at one time, but every time the rescue goes out of the building, or every time they come back in, the computers in the rescue are connecting to the internet automatically every time, syncing the system. That happens constantly every single day, hundreds of times a day, as our dispatch software does. So when you start to add to that, when you try to put technology into the trucks, that's Wi-Fi, or you can sell cards and different technology, it just puts a burden on IT staff. Hours, there's only so many hours in the day for them to oversee it. That's one of the reasons that the things that we've been working on for the fire department, and I've been working with the Lennox on this quite a bit, is to use wireless technology, to use things that are cloud-based, and it reduces the workload of their staff. In my earlier days, before I was in the fire service, I worked as a software engineer, so while I don't have the background from the current technology, like Bill Lennox does, I at least have a working knowledge and understanding, so when we start looking at things, I have an idea of what's going to be a problem in his department and what's not. So we've been working on things that won't really impact the rest of the city. But to answer your question, Todd, so we are working on technology for the trucks now. It's part of an emergency management grant. I believe that I already sent it. I don't know if it's yet. So we will be, and that will be kind of a standalone system. And we're intentionally doing that on a smaller scale than I would want to do long term. But we figured we'd be better off to get my inspection staff up to speed with wireless technology, so that they can do inspections in the field, and the data they collect will be real-time available into the fire department dispatch, and then we'll start to, integrate it into the trucks a little bit more. It's a big undertaking, and when you definitely have, I know you guys all know it, we talk about it every year, and I know Bill talks about it, and this mayor does, and the former mayor does. The technology is becoming more and more critical to the city, and an MIS department of 3 people isn't really, and this is not to be critical. There's only so much that they can get done with the time and the resources they had allocated. So Bill's been really good to us, and he's been very helpful with all the things we're trying to do.
Perfect. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good
and
night.
thanks for coming. We'll see you soon.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Mark,
Yes.
just one comment. Any of my fellow councilors that have a question that pops up between now and next week, please get a hold of Virginia. Virginia will get a hold of me, and I will get a hold of the chief and see if I can have whatever question it is answered. I have to get somebody with some knowledge on the computers to answer those.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, thanks again.
Thanks, Chief.
Good night. Mr. Withers, we're going to go to the continued public hearings first this evening.
Okay, for both of them?
Yes, we'll do the Class
R&D.
2 license first. Since it's
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first hearing tonight is a continued public hearing to discuss the possible revocation, alteration, or suspension of a Class 2 license for R&D Motors located at 116 Dickens Street.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the revocation, alteration, or suspension of the license? Anyone here to speak in favor? Jim, is there anybody on the Zoom? Did he say no? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition?
Would you like me to leave my mask on? Or?
You can take it off.
Oh, thank you. My name is Attorney Amy Very. I'm here on behalf of my client Daniel Martinez, and I'd like to thank the Honorable President as well as honorable members of the council for leaving this hearing open. It's my understanding that in part it was to allow me to appear on Mr. Martinez's behalf, and I apologize for my casual appearance today. Normally I'm in a suit, but I had to take care of my mom and take her to a doctor, so I ended up changing, and so I apologize again for appearing on in casual attire. In reviewing the what transpired at the last hearing, it's my understanding that there are several points of concern relative to Mr. Martinez's license. I believe it was in 2019, I appeared before many of the honorable members of this council on behalf of Mr. Martinez in arguing in favor of reinstating his license, which ultimately the council did approve. Mr. Martinez has been operating his business at that location and has, for the most part, been in compliance. I understand that there are some recent concerns relative to sales of vehicles that were transferred out of state And this involves the Rhode Island DMV and their investigatory body relative to another dealership in Rhode Island. Also, there were concerns relative to some vehicles being sold during COVID, where perhaps the people were not physically on the dealership itself, however the transaction happened. It's my understanding that any customers that were unable to register their vehicles due to whether it was a faulty title or disparities between Massachusetts laws and Rhode Island laws were made whole, which is what is required under the Commonwealth's laws as far as consumer protection laws and the Lemon laws, is making customers whole. Based upon nobody here or nobody appearing on the Zoom or in person to argue in favor of revoking his license, that would seem to suggest that Mr. Martinez is a good businessman, is an honorable businessman who has repeat customers, who has customers, in fact, that are waiting for the outcome of this hearing in order to be able to continue to maintain their business with Mr. Martinez and work towards getting their car or their vehicle registered. It is also my understanding that Mr. Martinez has been in contact with the investigator at the Rhode Island DMV to figure out what needs to be resolved on that end in order so that this issue or this mistake doesn't happen again. And that's, I guess, ultimately sort of the trials and tribulations of business, is you do make mistakes, but it's whether you learn from them and build your business better, or do you continue to make these mistakes and lose your customers and lose the business because you'd rather do things the shady way. Mr. Martinez he wouldn't be in this business. It's not an easy business. It's not something that you could just wake up one day and decide, I want to open up a used car business and a garage. It's very labor intensive. It's very onerous as far as the licensing, as far as the bonds, everything, the insurance. It's not something that's simple. And reviewing the minutes of the last hearing, it appears not only did the honorable members of the council have copies of his documentation paperwork, but Mr. Martinez himself, in compliance with the rules and regulations and the laws, maintains thorough records of his transactions as he's required to do so. I would submit that if he was in the business of cutting corners and not doing things by the book, that he wouldn't have any records. He wouldn't have acknowledged the sales. He wouldn't have followed through with making sure his customers are satisfied at the end of the day. And I would believe that that would be the type of business that you would want in Attleboro, somewhere where the customer, regardless of the outcome, regardless of whether they actually got to maintain their vehicle or were reimbursed, that they walk away happy and they want to continue doing business with Mr. Martinez, which is, again, based upon the fact that nobody is here in opposition of him maintaining his license, and based upon speaking with Mr. Martinez and knowing him for so long, he has a loyal customer base. His customers are satisfied, and they even come in from Rhode Island to do business with him, which speaks volumes. So for those reasons, I would respectfully request that Mr. Martinez be allowed to maintain his license and his ability to operate in the state, that perhaps this honorable council either set review date to make sure any conditions that you would impose upon his license have been followed through with, and that any other conditions that would satisfy the board that Mr. Martinez would need to satisfy in order to continue to operate his business in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Berry, could you just give your address for the record?
Yes, it's
Office.
okay. It's 462 Broadway in Providence.
Thank you.
Do you want the zip code as well?
Yep.
No.
And I am licensed in Massachusetts as well as Rhode Island to practice law.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Attorney Berry or Mr. Martinez at this time from the council? Daniel, did you want to? Council Dolan.
Yeah, if I don't really have any questions per se. So as far as all the records that the council has were obtained from the investigator from Rhode Island, and and you use the word shady and like distributing cars outside. So it wasn't, part of the issue was that, as I'm sure Mr. Martinez told you, everything that transpired, it was somebody else selling his vehicles with his paperwork and not actually coming to R&D. So I understand what you're saying about COVID, but these people were at the Curtis Street, which is 8 miles from his place. They went in there to purchase these vehicles. So that's part of the problem. So if I go into Joe's car dealership, I want my bill of sale to say Joe's, because it's painful to buy a car, period. I'd rather get a root canal. There's so much paperwork, and it's confusing for people. And you can understand when, I have people still calling me for businesses that have been out of business for 3 years looking for their title or whatever. And I'm like, people don't keep track of that. It can be confusing. It can be a lot of paperwork. So my concern is when they get home from the, I think it was JP Automotive on Curtis Street, they get home, or a month later, 2 months later, a year later, and they look at their bill of sale and it says R&D, and they're like, where is this place? I've never been there. So there's, a shadiness to that's concerning, because they never saw Mr. Martinez. They never, signed anything in front of Mr. Martinez. They didn't deal with Mr. Martinez. And what is to say that, and I know he's friendly, everybody's friendly, everybody knows everybody and such, but what if the people on Curtis Street sold the car for $5,000 and gave you $3,000, said, hey, we sold it for $3,000. Here's your $3,000. They're pocketing too, and they're like, we're going to write the bill of sale for $3,000 so you don't pay so much in taxes. And then if there's any issues on it, like we had previous, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but it was an older issue that we had Mr. Martinez's back on, and but it's extremely familiar, and it's someone that purchased a vehicle from somebody else, but their bill of sale was R&D. And again, like, we went to the mat, and I hope Mr. Martinez can say that we did that. And so it's the little things. That lends to the shadiness of, you're not there, you're not selling it, why is it your bill of sale? Why is it already signed? There's questions. And not to mention the fact of what these people are doing otherwise, aside from Mr. Martinez, that doesn't lend to proper people, if you want to say that. But anyway, that's just some comments I have right now. And if Mr. Martinez,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, if I may. Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Mr. President.
So I know that Council Jackson, I see you. I think I'll hold my questions. And Council Jackson, did you have a question? And then Attorney Very will let you.
Certainly.
Thank you, President Cooper. No, it's not a question. It's just, Mr. Martinez, it's all about your reputation. That's what's at hand right now, and that's what we're questioning, is what is going on with you at this point in time. That I get from this whole discussion. That concludes the comments.
Thank you, Council Jackson. Before you answer that, Daniel, I want to make a comment quickly. To use your words, Attorney Very, you said, making mistakes happens sometimes in business, and I don't disagree with you. And what I think I would say to you and to Mr. Martinez is that I'll only speak for myself, I'm one of 11, right? But I have given that opportunity to Mr. Martinez on multiple occasions, right? Sort of the benefit of the doubt. And to use your words again, in my opinion, and I'm one of 11, multiple mistakes, when multiple mistakes become a habit, is when I have concern. And that's what I'm feeling here today, and have been since 2 weeks ago. I recently traveled to Texas, and happened to be in Texas, in Irving, Texas, and heard a report in Texas, active investigation, Channel 5, Dallas, Fort Worth. You want to watch it, go on and Google it. They have a problem in Texas with license plates, a big one, where they estimate dealerships are making $200 million applying for anywhere between 8,000 and 27,000 temporary license tags a day. It was on the news. And I see in there a Texas license plate, and I hear that one of the biggest problems is in the state of Massachusetts, is where the active investigation was between Texas, New York, and Massachusetts. So there's something going, in my opinion, again, there's something going on here that we're not getting to the bottom of. And all of this paperwork, right, between mine and hers that we've received, I heard a real live story from a woman. She called me directly. And Mr. Martinez, to his defense, took care of that situation with that individual. But it was eerily familiar to what's before us tonight. She did not go, and it was during COVID. So yes, a lot of things happened during COVID, but that's the first time we heard COVID in terms of what happened here was from you tonight. Daniel brought that up as a barrier to sales, right? But overall sales and sort of what everybody in the industry was going through at that time. But if you're trying to buy a car today, most of the time you're not finding it, or you're overpaying for it. But Councilor Dolan, to her credit, and Daniel's, he's followed up every time that we have had questions. And I just think that that's where I'm struggling, right? I'm struggling with, I've been doing this for 10 years, and in December I'm done. But I haven't had a lot of times where I've had revocation hearings for licenses for used car dealers. Maybe 3, maybe 4, and 2 of them, at least 2, maybe 3. No, one was a regular license renewal, was R&D Motors. So I need you to help me, and what I think some others are feeling or have communicated to me, how we overcome that. I need to hear that from Daniel or from you or from both of you. But that's where I'm at tonight. And I'm the last guy to vote. And last time it could have gone either way. Right? And the last guy that voted was me. So if it goes that same way, right now today it's not going to happen the same way it did then. So I need you to convince all of us why. And I don't want to hear excuse stories. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what Daniel Martinez is going to do. He has stood at that podium before, and one time with you, quite frankly, and made commitments to this council that he wouldn't be back, right? I know you remember that, and here we are. And quite frankly, in a little different situation where we have investigators sitting in the audience that are going to, I think, are going to address the council with regard to this matter. So I need you to help me. I need you, both of you, to help me and this council understand, to Council Jackson's point, where are you today? And I know that was a long-winded way of saying it, but I really need to. No, I don't want Daniel Martinez to go out of business or R&D Motors to go out of business, but I also don't want to get any more of those phone calls. And unfortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you are and how you look at it, they won't be calling me anymore. But I don't want to get that anymore, right? And we don't want all this paperwork. So I need you to help us understand that.
Certainly. And actually, I'm in the process of trying to purchase a new vehicle, or not new, used vehicle, and it is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. I'm at the point where I'm looking nationwide, and you're not going to find something where you're not overpaying by 2-3 times what the vehicle's worth. It's crazy. My understanding, not being privy to the documents that you have in front of you and I understand, any confidentiality or whatnot, that the issue was in large part the dealership that Mr. Martinez, that was selling Mr. Martinez's vehicles in Rhode Island was not complying within the law. It sounds like they're purchasing or, manufacturing fraudulent temporary plates. They were, as Councilman Dolan pointed out, they could have been undercutting him and lying to him and saying, "Oh, we sold your vehicle for $3,000," when in fact they sold it for $5,000. And unfortunately, Mr. Martinez would have no idea or no recourse for that. Should the person who receives the title say, "Oh, this is R&D. Let me go address them because I feel like I overpaid," or what have you. And those are legitimate concerns. I think that speaks and I spoke with Mr. Martinez briefly about this today, and he did provide me with some contractual language he has when he's selling a vehicle to someone that lives in Rhode Island and needs to register the vehicle that is salvage vehicle. And I would suggest that perhaps that speaks also to needing to vet out who you're choosing to do business with. And I think that is, unfortunately, especially in the used car business, and perhaps that's why there's so many strict regulations, is because there are so many fly-by-night or shady people, and there are so many unhappy customers that leave these dealerships that end up getting, for lack of a better word, screwed over because, the person they're dealing with is shady. And it does sound like this other dealership in Rhode Island did lack scruples, and it doesn't sound like Mr. Martinez was involved at all in their fraudulent activity, for lack of a better word, and not to cast disparities upon them. But it doesn't sound like his hands were involved in that at all. It was unfortunately selecting the wrong dealership to deal with, and it does sound like he had utilized them for repairs, and perhaps they're very good at repairs. But that doesn't mean that they're good when it comes to selling vehicles or whatever else they're choosing to do and put their business at risk. And I'm happy to work with Mr. Martinez to if he chooses to do that in the future, to set up a contractual relationship where there are legal protections for himself and his business, but also to ensure that the people that he's dealing with are going to fulfill and satisfy their end of the bargain and following the rules and the law. Because I'm sure Mr. Martinez is embarrassed to come back before you, because he gave his word, and I gave my word that he would not be back, and unfortunately here we are. But I think those are things that Mr. Martinez can do and will do going forward, and I'll work with him on that to make sure before he selects to do business with someone, if he chooses to do that in the future, that we vet the business, that we set up a written contract with them so that the terms and conditions are set forth, and that is within the bounds of not only the laws of the Commonwealth, but the laws of Rhode Island or whatever state, if he happens to go down that road. Because I think that is very important, because while Mr. Martinez does have all the documentation, paperwork as far as his vehicles and his business end, he can't speak to what these other people are doing, and obviously their actions are in part why we're here today. And it's unfortunate he chose someone that perhaps he didn't know them well enough to know that this is what they're doing with their business. Because I'm sure perhaps if he did know that, he obviously wouldn't have chosen to allow them to sell his vehicles. Obviously Mr. Martinez is very passionate about his business. He has fought hard for it. And I don't think if you're that passionate and that much of a willing to go down on the mat for your business, are you going to choose to put yourself in these predicaments knowingly? Or are you going to knowingly engage in criminal activity like it sounds like this other dealership unfortunately is doing? But I think going forward, and I think at this point Mr. Martinez recognizes that if given the opportunity by this council, and I understand that it would be perhaps a stretch or a really thin branch of faith to extend to Mr. Martinez the opportunity to continue to do business. But if this honorable council were willing to do so, and speaking with Mr. Martinez today, I think he's committed to making sure that he sort of brings it to the next level, that this isn't just a garage or something. He needs to have legal documents if he's going to be working with other people. He needs to, it's not just a handshake and the people look me in the eye so I feel comfortable that they are going to be as legitimate as I am. Because unfortunately nowadays, you can't trust people. You can't trust them, that they are going to be at the same level that you are. So I think in working with Mr. Martinez to come up with these contracts and to continue to make sure that he is doing everything on his end, and that his customers leave satisfied, which I don't think has been the issue. It has been, unfortunately, the people that have been involved either in his business or that he has become or done business with that have landed him before this council. So I think with Mr. Martinez's plan going forward, if this honorable council would be willing, and even if this council gave him a temporary license to allow him to continue with reviews to make sure he is following through, that would ensure that, you know, the happy customers continue to go to R&D Auto and Sales, and that the business is able to continue to bring revenue to the city of Attleboro as well as the Commonwealth, but also ensure that this will be the very last time, knock on wood, that y'all see me and Mr. Martinez, other than if you want to purchase a nice used vehicle from Mr. Martinez, of course.
Thank you. Councilor Dolan?
So, you know, and I, to be honest and to be straightforward, and I always tell my fellow councilors if I have issues with car dealerships, and, you know, that's my responsibility to keep them informed. Have I had any customer complaints about Mr. Martinez? I haven't. Any purchases that they've made? No. But, you know, he's always on the outskirts of the fray somewhere. And it's concerning in the fact of, you know, like I said, if I go to Joe's, I want my dealership, I want my bill of sale to be from the dealership that I walked into. And you're too loose with your paperwork. Like the last one, you know, and everybody's like first names. I gave it to Elmer, right? And it's a real guy. I didn't make that up. I gave it to Elmer, and then everything broke loose, and it comes back to Danny. May not have done anything wrong except being super loose with his, you know, paperwork that has his signature on it. That may be the case, and that was the one that President Cooper said that he made right. And did the right things because he knows he's on the cusp. So that turned out everybody got what they needed. But the point is that if you leave it in the hands of somebody else and hand over your signature on something that somebody else is filling out the top, you're looking for trouble. I mean, my God, it's like signing one of my checks. Here, fill it in. It's only for $20, and then you put an extra zero. It's just the associations and knowing how risky this is. It just blows my mind that I don't know. Maybe nobody. There's got to be honest people out there that you can deal with. The people at Curtis. Did you have any involvement in certain things that they did illegally? Probably not. But you handed everything over to them for them to. You could have just sold them the car. Just sell them the car. Just sell them the car and let them do whatever they want. Take your money and walk away. Let them repair it. Do whatever, but you can't, like, if you are granted your license back, you can't, you're looking for the trouble. You're looking for the heartache and the headache and everything that's going to come back to you, whether you did something wrong or not. In handing over your paperwork all the time, is just going to hurt you, and it has, clearly. So that's what bothers me, you know, like, you're just on the outskirts of everything that's going wrong. And we're supposed to look out for the citizens, and it's not just the citizens of Attleboro, it's Rhode Island, wherever somebody comes in from. And it's not, and again, it wasn't the transfer. You can sell to California, you can do whatever you want, as long as that person buys it from Danny Martinez at R&D Auto. Because anything other than that, I feel, is dishonest. If you're not there, and if that's not the paperwork, then I feel like it's dishonest.
And that's what you're licensed to do in the city. Not send it over to Rhode Island and he has somebody that comes in and likes it, so you fill out the paperwork and let your buddy sell it. That's not what you're licensed to do. You're licensed to sell in the city of Attleboro. One other thing, and then I know Council Jackson has a question, and I think someone else had a question. Maybe you didn't know. I'll give you that. Maybe you didn't know. I'm not the judge and jury. I've read a lot of paperwork here. But one thing that you said to me last week when I was asking you questions, and I know you mentioned you went back and watched the video. There was a case with a signing of a title, and Daniel, you stood right there and told me that you knew it wasn't the seller of the vehicle. You knew it was the guy the car came from auction and signed the signed the request for a duplicate title, and you knew it wasn't the person that signed the thing. So when you know those kinds of things, you don't have to give me a response. You already said it. When you see that kind of stuff happening, to me, and I'm not a car dealer, I'm a nurse, right? You throw up your hands and you say, wait a minute, something's wrong here. I'm not a car dealer, and I know that if you're not Daniel Martinez and you're signing that, that's a problem. That, to me, says stop right there, go no further. And I think that's one single example of, if this council were to grant you a license again, those are the types of business decisions you're going to have to make at that moment. If this doesn't feel right, if it doesn't seem right, if this isn't Joe Schmo from Idaho selling me this and his name's on this thing and he's signing it or not, don't go any further. You're only opening yourself up for heartache. That, again, you don't want to come here again. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, President Cooper. So, Mr. Martinez, my name is Keith Jackson. I'm Vice President right now of the City Council, but in January, I'm the City Clerk. And as City Clerk, I'm the one that approves your license as well. Like, I stamp everything in the office of the City Clerk. So, I'm very interested in what's going on here, more so because I want to know what's happening really and truly with your business. Because as City Clerk, I'm the one that processes your license.
So, some people here know, but in 2008, I had like a brain injury, and it was really serious. But I had my ex-girlfriend before. She used to do all the paperwork. Like, I shared the business with her, and we broke up 2017. She was the one that did everything. So now I have my sister help me. I had this other lady there helping me from Curtis Street. JP Automotive and Curtis Street is the same place. So I would bring the cars there for body work and paint. So if they said, oh, somebody wants this car, somebody wants that car, because I buy a lot of Hondas, and people look for Hondas all the time. So I said, yeah, let's go sell it. She knew most of the people that we sold the car to. I knew a couple of them. There was just one out of the three these guys showed me 2 weeks ago. It was only one person they didn't know. So, I mean, we buy a lot. I'm from Rhode Island, from Providence, and a lot of my customers are repeat customers or people that I sold the car to, like, let's go to Danny. I let them see the auction. What car do you want? We'll buy it, we'll fix it, and we sell it to them. You know, like, I think it says a lot that in this 12-month period, we did over 300 cars from one single auction. Nobody has complained about it, about the cars that we sell to them, anything. And I think that speaks a lot. You know, every time there's an issue, I'm here. You know, I shake a lot from my brain injury. I have seizures, stuff like that, and sometimes I need people to help me. I can't always be at the garage. Sometimes I'll just pre-sign the papers and leave them there, but if you go to my shop, you see there's a lot of cars there. My storage yard is full. I bring them to different body shops all the time because I can't fix them all. I can't always be there, you know. I got kids, my son works with me. I got this property from John Martins. Like, I met him when I was 14. He passed away some years ago, and when I told him I want to buy the business of my stepfather, which also passed away, he told me, I believe in you. He got me an engineer to make me a site plan. Got me a lawyer to help me, which is Ed Casey. You're so familiar with him. Helped me get the license. You know, he told me not to let him down, and I've been trying. You know.
If I may follow up, it sounds like obviously Mr. Martinez is passionate about the business, the cars, and that aspect, and it's the paperwork part that he's having trouble. He needs some help, and it's not always easy to find someone that's reliable that can help you keep up with the paperwork, and that is something that we'll be working with Mr. Martinez to help him hopefully simplify it, but also have standardized forms that could maybe help speed up and organize the process a little bit, because I think the paperwork is the least fun part of business, but it's probably the most important one. And it's something that he needs to get more in a habit of doing, but I think it's definitely something that can be done and can be tightened up, and there's simple fixes that can help him kind of stay on track with that paperwork aspect so they can continue to do the fun part, which is the working of the cars and the helping of the customers.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Attorney Barry, I do. But I thought I heard you say at the beginning of this that all of Mr. Martinez is, so I'm feeling a little contradictory, because I thought I heard when you opened this that he ran a good business and he kept his paperwork in order and he had what he needed, but now I'm hearing something different.
No,
Okay.
and I apologize if I clouded the waters there. No, his paperwork as far as the cars and everything is there. He does have good record keeping. But as Councilman Dolan illustrated, one of the documents was like on lined paper and things of that nature, which perhaps he needs more standardized
I see.
form, something that makes it more legit and more, or not legit, not that the other one was illegitimate, but it doesn't look at the professional level that you would hope to have from someone that is dedicated and is working very hard on these cars and pleasing his customers.
Thank you for that clarification. Any additional question? Councilor Holmes?
Thank you. I think, like Councilor Dolan had said earlier, this is an administrative issue. He does need to get somebody in there that is able to manage that part of the business. That's where everything's failing, so some attention to that part of the business needs to be had right now. So I'm just hoping that this can get turned around and that somebody can get hired to help organize everything. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds?
So as I'm listening to this, and I think many of you know that during the last time this came up for us, I was hopeful that we would give him his license. And, I went back and forth after the last hearing because my last comments to him as he left with his attorney the last time was, don't mess this up. And unfortunately, we see that he has messed it up. I will say that I have heard no complaints from people here in South Attleboro about him, about the sales that he makes. I am horrified to have read through the paperwork, and as Councilor Dolan, who I think has been very patient in trying to be helpful with him, is on the money. As much as I think that he is passionate about this business and he wants to make it work, if we were to do anything or consider anything, it would have to be temporary and be sure that he actually gets someone in there, and I am saying this to his attorney as well, because she seems to have faith in him and wants to help him move forward, and to me that's admirable. That these are things that would have to happen. Otherwise, without that, as much as I want to help him, I think that we would have to clearly make it only temporary till we see that these things are put in place and that he understands he's had some health issues, some bad luck and whatnot, and I would like to see him get successful in this. I know that Mr. Martin did help him out originally when all this started, and it probably would still be there for him if he were alive today. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Martinez or his attorney at this time? Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members of the council, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against?
Mr. President, thank you. Members of the Rhode Island Division of Motor Vehicles, and again, we are here to speak neither for nor against the revocation, but merely to provide information at the
Point of order, Mr. President, we can't hear the speaker. Would you please adjust the microphone?
I will, thank you. Councilor Conti.
I apologize. Mr. President, members of the Rhode Island Division of Motor Vehicles are present this evening, and we are here, again, neither to speak for or against the revocation, but we are here at the invitation of Councilor Dolan to provide information if the council, any members of the council have any questions or require any additional information in addition to the paperwork that was already provided.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counsel Dolan, I think, did you have some questions for the investigator?
Mr. Goodwin, yes.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening. Mr. Goodwin, you just identify yourself, and you can use the RMV address, or you just that you're at the Rhode Island RMV or wherever it is.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Billy Goodwin. I'm the investigator at the Rhode Island DMV Enforcement Office, and the address there is 600 New London Avenue in Cranston.
Thank you. Did you get that, Steve?
I didn't get the street.
New London Ave,
New
600.
London Ave.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. You can continue. Counsel Dolan, did you have questions?
I'm not sure how you'd like to proceed. I know that and I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
And I thank you for being patient through this, that it's dragged out a bit. So you heard everything that we spoke about with Mr. Martinez and his attorney, and you had been in contact with me initially. I don't even remember what month.
It was around June of
Okay.
this year.
So I gave your paperwork to everybody on the council, so they've probably gone through it. Is there anything specific you'd like to talk about? Do you want to go through these vehicles and maybe give a little, like, the cliff notes on?
It's totally up to you. I mean, I can just give you a little bit of a synopsis of how we encountered R&D Auto and basically went with how we investigated Curtis.
That would be great.
And then where we are today.
So around the middle of June 15th or so, a woman by the name of Kathy Acosta had appeared before our office and presented registration documents. When she went upstairs, she was unable to register that vehicle due to errors with the paperwork. So they sent her down to our office. And when she was down in our office, she described the place of sale as the 118 Curtis Street address. When we started asking her the questions, where she bought it, she described in detail 118 Curtis Street and who she dealt with. We reviewed the documents that were presented with a bill of sale from R&D Auto Sales and the title signed over from Mr. Martinez. That vehicle, we then ran that vehicle's VIN number through the National Crime Bureau, and we were able to identify it as a salvage vehicle based on the year. Go ahead, Laura.
Can you just tell me which vehicle this is? Do you remember which model?
Yeah, I can pull it right out.
It'll just help me find it quicker.
Yeah, no worries.
Honda, Armada, CRV, Accord, RAV4.
So that one's going to be, the case number on that one is 210382.
Okay.
It's the 2010 Honda Accord.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. So that particular vehicle, we discovered that it was a salvage vehicle. Now, just for the council's information and just for your all information, in Rhode Island, dealerships or any individual is not allowed to sell a salvage vehicle. And that's, anything 2001 and up that requires a title, they're non-registrable in our state. In Massachusetts, you guys have the 10-year rule, which allows a 10-year-old vehicle to be sold with a clean title that doesn't necessarily show up with the salvage history or without disclosing it to the customer. And that's exactly what happened in this particular case. It was never disclosed to the customer that this particular vehicle was a salvage vehicle. So we stamped the paperwork as a salvage vehicle, and we started asking the customer some more questions. The customer, during questioning, the customer also presented a Texas buyer plate, which the Texas buyer plate is exactly what President Cooper had talked about in the Channel 5 story. They are temporary plates that people can obtain through Texas to allow them to have a registration on a vehicle that may not be eligible for registration due to a variety of purposes. After we got done with Ms. Acosta, our office, as well as the Rhode Island Dealers Commission, took a visit down to 118 Curtis Street. And upon the inspection of that particular facility, we saw about 5 to 6 vehicles that were parked in front on display of that lot. those vehicles were not owned by JP Automotive or by Curtis Street Auto Sales. They were only owned by R&D Auto Sales. And those vehicles were being sold through R&D, but left at the Curtis Street location.
Stop, can I?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I just clarify there? So, after you finished with the woman that provided the testimony to you, you went to
118 Curtis Street.
Oh, Curtis Street.
Yeah, we never went to R&D Auto Sales.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to the dealership in Rhode Island.
Correct.
And what you saw there were vehicles on that lot that were owned by R&D.
That is correct.
For sale, out
Correct.
front.
Yes, correct.
Clearly for sale?
Yeah, they were clearly for sale.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And basically in Rhode Island, when you're going to have a dealership, the vehicles that are on display in the front of the lot, they're classified as a vehicle that's eligible to be for sale, and they're being displayed as for sale in that manner. The woman that works and owns Curtis Street, her name is Laura Penafiel Aquim. We later questioned her as well, and we learned that she helped out Mr. Martinez by filling out different paperwork for him. And she told me, and she admitted that she would go to Daniel's office either on a Tuesday or some day during the week to help him fill out paperwork for R&D. And while she was there, she would have bill of sales that Mr. Martinez had already signed. And then they were brought back, and then they would use those to sell the vehicle. And that became a common occurrence on these sales. Laura was listed as the salesman, but Danny was signing it as the seller. So these customers in Rhode Island never had an encounter with Mr. Martinez.
Can I ask, do you think because of the salvage rules in Rhode Island, do you think that this was Curtis Street's goal was to avoid the salvage because it would be being sold from Massachusetts?
Yeah, in my opinion,
rules.
Yeah, in my opinion, to be honest with you, because I basically set up all the salvage appointments in Rhode Island, and we have one of the strictest salvage programs in the state. And our inspection process is a lot more intensive than Massachusetts is, just based on experience with that program. And in my opinion, I believe Curtis Street was using R&D's paperwork to get around that process. And without having to have a salvage rebuilder's license, it allowed them to sell those vehicles where they otherwise wouldn't have been able to.
Were there other vehicles that were theirs there? Were there 10 on the other side of the lot that were...
They had vehicles that were in the back that were waiting to be worked on. Mm-hmm. And, as far as I know, we only focused on the 5 and 6 that was in the front. That later Rhode Island dealer's investigation turned up a little bit more information. But that's... the most important thing is that, those vehicles, those 5 or 6 were on sale at that particular lot. And this wasn't just one instance. We had another individual in the cases that I provided to you, Jose Bayon, who, I'll tell you that one. That one's going to be case number 210405. It's a 2007 Honda CRV.
Okay.
Very similar to this whole entire sale. This vehicle here was also a salvage vehicle. That was not disclosed to this particular customer that it was a salvage vehicle. And the vehicle was sold and advertised on Facebook through the JP Automotive Facebook page. However, the customer was provided bill of sale and titles from R&D Auto Sales. So that's, it's not just one vehicle that we're seeing this on. We have, I have 6 vehicles that were salvage vehicles that have now been suspended and revoked and denied registrations. I think, to be honest with you, the most important case for you guys would be the 2008 Nissan Armada. And that was case number 210614.
And this is the title.
This is the title issues.
The gentleman that you spoke to.
That's correct. So I think this one here basically sums up, what my assumptions of what was going on. This particular vehicle, the customer had a duplicate title. Now, for all your information, we had placed R&D on our what's called a dealer do not process list. And that dealer do not process list requires a review of all the registration documents for that particular dealer. And that's how we kept seeing the R&D paperwork. So they were on our radar since June and with their issues with Curtis Street. This particular vehicle, when we saw it, I was on the counter the day that the customer came down with it, and she provided me the documents, and she had told me, where she had bought the vehicle. She had a duplicate title, and I looked at the back of the duplicate title, and the signature of Mr. Delmonico was very similar to Mr. Martinez. And when I started to look at that particular signature, I said, you know what? I had the woman have a seat. And I made a phone call. I Google searched Mr. Delmonico from Boston, and he's a prominent attorney up in Boston. And I was able to make contact with him, and I was able to verify that he was the owner of that particular vehicle. He explained to me that he had sold that vehicle when he traded it into CarMax to purchase another vehicle for his son. The vehicle then went from the CarMax location that he traded it in to the Norwood office where they do all of their CarMax auctions. The car was sold in, it was either June or August of that particular year. And that vehicle had just the regular old standard title on that. Well, I couldn't figure out why they had obtained a duplicate title for this particular vehicle. And I had actually reached out to Mr. Martinez and had some questions about this particular vehicle. And Mr. Martinez had informed me that he had purchased that vehicle from an individual who was, not listed on the back of the title. And what they did was they applied for a duplicate title to basically wash the back of the title and remove some of the errors that were there. And as we all know, that Massachusetts has DRT-1 forms and letter of corrections, that you could have easily corrected those errors without having to go through these steps. And they submitted that application to the RMV, which I was able to get a hold of, and it also contains a fraudulent signature on that with R&D's stamp, obtaining that duplicate title. So to me, that would be, complicit in that fraud of that obtaining that duplicate title.
Just a question about the titles. Were you able to, so this one's the duplicate, I'm assuming that you
Correct. The one that you have in your hand is the duplicate title.
Was the back of was the original title ever found? And was this the one, remind me, this was CarMax, and you called the lady at CarMax and she said we sold it at auction?
That's correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, this was the one I asked. I believe this was the one I asked Mr. Martinez, who signed I think the application for the duplicate title is in here.
Yeah, that's right behind.
I believe it is, yes. Application for duplicate certificate of title. And I asked him who signed this, and if it wasn't Mr. Delmonico, who was it? And I think it, referring back to that meeting, it was reported to the council publicly that the person that Mr. Martinez bought it from signed it, which was my reference to, that's a red flag.
It just goes to show, Council President, that like these issues, even since we flagged R&D auto sales, these issues have been ongoing since June of this year. And some of the vehicles and some of the associates that were with Curtis Street Auto Sales, the sister Lillian Penafiel, one of her vehicles is listed here. And that was prior to all of the issues that we uncovered. So we don't even know what the scope of what this is, except for what we have from June to now. So that's what I would show you, is that it's not just one or two vehicles. It's an ongoing issue that we've had with these particular vehicles.
Do you know? I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask one more question because I see some councilors had their hands up. Is R&D still on the do not? I think you called it a do not process list.
Yes, sir. They are still on that do not process list. However, they have received a stay until the pending hearing of this license. I know that Mr. Martinez has sold. I was off for about 3.5 weeks, and I know in that time frame he had sold about 3 or 4 vehicles that we won't register until the outcome of what this council decides as far as his license.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Dolan, and then Councilor Conti or Cobus. I saw some movement, but I'm not sure if you guys had questions.
Do you notify a dealer when they're put on that do not process list?
No, we do not. The reason being is we don't want to alert them to anything that we're doing on an investigatory side to that, so we can continue to see those transactions coming down to us, and then hopefully, and our goal is ultimately to remove these particular dealers from the do not process list. So if we see good transactions from that dealer, the goal is to take them off of that list so that we no longer have to see their customers or that particular dealer. And a lot of them, they kind of figure out, hey, I went to the Woonsocket DMV and they're telling me now I have to go to Cranston. Well, a lot of those dealers, if it was me or you, I'm going to reach out to why and find out why I'm on the do not process list. And that's exactly what happens. Most of those dealers that are on a do not process list do reach out to us, and we do come up with certain accommodations for some of them, depending on what their issues are.
So as far as, does Curtis Street still have their license?
Curtis Street was suspended for a period of 6 months, and then they are going before our board again for a separate issue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Billy, how many car dealerships do you have on the do not process list?
Oh, God. I wouldn't even be able to answer that question. I would say there were probably north of 20 to 30 dealerships. And a lot of them, there's certain ones from Florida, Georgia, different stuff like that we see multiple issues from. But, it's a relatively high number considering.
So, Billy, your jurisdiction is the entire United States?
No. So, let me rephrase that. So you'll have dealers a lot of dealers from Florida or Georgia or New Jersey. If you go on Craigslist, you can buy what's called an auction access card. And a lot of these dealers provide these individuals auction access and the paperwork. So they go to the auction, they buy the vehicle, and what's supposed to happen is that vehicle is supposed to be transferred back to that home state, and then the vehicle gets sold off of that particular lot. That never happens. Most of the time, those vehicles get sold Broad Street in Providence, so they get sold somewhere down in Warwick. That's why they end up on the do not process list, because they're not selling the vehicles at their home dealership location. Because our ultimate goal is to protect our Rhode Island dealers.
Okay, so Billy, what I'm trying to get at is the percentile of automobile dealerships that hit that do not process list. 99% of car dealerships never hit the list. Is that an accurate statement?
I would say so, yes, sir. That's correct.
99.5 automobile dealerships never hit the process list. Is that a true statement?
I would say so, yes, sir. Yeah, it's just based on if you have continued issues with our office that we put you on that do not process list.
Well, I can then conclude that it is like 0.5% of people who do business in automobiles that hit your radar.
Yes.
In Rhode Island.
Thank you.
In Rhode Island, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Any additional questions, Council Dolan? Any additional questions from the council?
I mean, I know I can call you. I really appreciate you coming here.
Yeah, Councilor Dolan, our office, we're willing to work with Mr. Martinez. If you guys decide that, whatever you guys decide, and you let me know whatever the decision is, our office will work with Daniel and help him. It's not like, like some of these issues here, we don't want to put a dealer out of business. Our goal is to help them and be the best dealer that they can be. So that's, I just want to just end it with that, that these issues are not, we're trying to help and protect our consumers as well.
I appreciate that comment, Mr. Goodwin. I do. I think that this council and the city has been very supportive as well to Mr. Martinez over the years. I see Council Reynolds with her hand with a follow-up question. Council Reynolds, did you have a question for Mr. Goodwin?
You're muted.
You're muted, Sarah. I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Goodwin, I appreciate your comments as well, but what I would like to ask, and I think it kind of falls in line with Councilor Conte, is when you say it's like a certain 5%, but that continuously shows up on this, where they're held back from doing any sales, they get a stay, but they get a holdback. Can I ask you that because you don't notify the car dealer, and they don't know that you're necessarily investigating them, when in fact Daniel Martinez noticed this, or whenever he came forward to you, did you notice that he was sincere in trying to correct things, or did you see after that continued problems?
We still continue to see problems after that.
Even after you start, and what were the responses from Mr. Martinez as to why these continue? Why again did you see yet another one, or why did you see yet another problem?
I think there was a lot.
Same issue or a new issue?
Yeah, I think a lot of these were just questions about what our Rhode Island laws were and why he couldn't do what he was doing. So that's as far as.
Okay, so you felt as if after you're having your conversation with him and these are going on, that it wasn't so much that he was trying to be, as his attorney mentioned about these people, shady. It was more his ignorance of the law.
Yeah, and I provided the multiple law numbers to Mr. Martinez about these particular laws and to why that his dealer was on this do not process list. So that did occur.
Did you think he understood what you were saying clearly?
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure. I don't know. Just based on my very few interactions, like I said, I had a 3.5-week break from this particular case, and during that time frame, they still saw vehicles and different stuff that was going on.
Okay, but your interaction that you did have, you felt like maybe you didn't truly understand what the process was.
I think so, but Counselor, to that point, especially with this one, with the Armada, I think there has to be some understanding or some complicity to know what happened in that particular case. So as far as maybe not understanding where the vehicle locations can be sold and not sold in Rhode Island, yeah, I could see that being a little bit of a confusion for Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, but the rest of it, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
You know what? I have one more thing to say. When we were talking about the salvage restrictions between Rhode Island and Mass and how Mass is more lenient, I was going to ask who would benefit more, Curtis Street or Danny Martinez, and I guess it would be kind of mutual, right?
Yeah, essentially, yeah,
so
because
Danny could get rid of cars and they could make whatever they make on the cars and skirt the issue of salvage.
Exactly, yeah, that's one of their main benefits is to do that, is to try to get around that salvage law.
Because if Mr. Martinez sold, a Honda Accord to Curtis Street, they wouldn't be able to sell it.
Correct. Yeah, they wouldn't be able to sell it with the paperwork that it is. You would have to have a reconstructed or rebuilt title.
Right.
Which requires a different license, if I understood you correctly.
In Rhode Island, yes.
Rhode Island, yes.
Yeah. So just for you guys' information, what Mr. Martinez and what R&D would do, they would apply for a reconstructed title under their name, and then that would allow them to sell that particular vehicle to a Rhode Island resident at that point. But they would never be able to sell it with a clean title on the front and then an insurance company or whatever the case may be with a salvage history.
I see.
Okay.
Also, I think, just for my own clarification on the Accord, the Acosta case, it appears as if, unfortunately, Mr. Acosta got stopped on Wickenden Street.
Yes.
With the Texas license plates.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
All right, thank you very much. Any
you, guys.
additional questions from the council on Zoom? No, thank you. Is there anyone on the Zoom meeting, Jim? Great, thank you.
Nobody else.
Thank
Great,
you. I
thank
really
you.
appreciate you taking the time to be here. Thank you.
You know what, Mr. Goodwin, I do have one more question for you. I'm sorry, I apologize. Has the Massachusetts RMV, is this something that you share with the other, licensing of who grants the temp plates or the repair plates and that kind of thing in the state of Massachusetts?
Yes, sir. So what I did do was, after the case with the Armada and the title and the fraudulent signature being submitted, I did reach out to the head of RMV Enforcement Services, Michael Ariely, and he's been in communication with his investigative team to try to see what they can dig up and everything else. So I know that the RMV has that case, and I know that they may be actively working on that case. I can't speak to that.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that your notification process. And then I lied. I have one more question. I understood you. If I understood you correctly, Curtis is closed for this reason. They have something pending. It was suspended for 6 months, but they have something else pending. Was Mr. Martinez called formally through any channel to provide any testimony for that?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. That concludes
Anytime,
my
guys.
comments. Any additional questions for Mr. Goodwin? And this time we'll really let you go.
All right. Yeah, no big deal.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, what I think we should do you see any reason to keep it open?
You don't?
Because we can discuss more at committee.
Yes.
So, any counselors see any reason to keep this open? Normally, I don't ask the council, but I think at this point we can close this public hearing.
Yes.
Thank you. That public hearing is closed at this time, and the matter will be discussed further in committee. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. Sorry it took a little longer than we thought, but again, thank you.
Mark, where do you want me to go?
The
other continued one?
Yes, please.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay. The next public hearing is also a continued public hearing to lay out a portion of Nickel Ave, length of 486.50 feet, from Station 0 plus 00 to Station 4 plus 86.5 as a public way, and accept said way and any related drainage, water, or sewer facilities or easement. Plan available for viewing at City Hall during regular business hours. It's continued to tonight.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak on this matter? And I don't think there's anybody on the Zoom. So, Councilor Kobus, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
That public hearing is closed. Mr. Withers, would you read the notice for the next public hearing?
The next public hearing is to purchase a 20,000 square foot property located on Pond Street in the town of Seekonk that the city of Attleboro owns.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Actually, there is nobody in the audience here, and there's nobody on Zoom. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you very much, President Cooper. I did speak with the gentleman who wants to purchase the land. He's having a difficult time getting on to Zoom. And I did speak with Councilor Kobus about that, so it's up to him whatever he wants to do. But I just want to let you know he was trying to be here this evening to tell you all about that little tiny parcel that he wants to buy.
Okay. Councilor Kobus.
In my mind, it's straightforward. If there's no one to speak against, I don't have a problem with closing it.
Yeah, I don't either. It was pretty straightforward from what I saw, and so Unless anybody objects, we'll close that public hearing as well. That public hearing is closed. We can move on to the next one.
And this is a public hearing to discuss extending no parking from 25 feet to 100 feet at Frank Mossberg Drive.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? In opposition, or neither for nor against? There is no one. And I believe that's in Councilor DeSimone. Is that in your committee?
Yes.
Yes. Do you see any reason to keep that public hearing open?
I do not, President Cooper.
Thank you. That public hearing is also closed at this time. We can move on to the reading of the mayor's communication as soon as I find it. Hold on 1 second. See
You're going to have to bear with me because this is a long one.
Yeah. Let me just take a quick look here. 1 second. Most of these will be, unless somebody objects, I can just assign the committees and waive the reading of the mayor's communication this evening. It's a long one, and we've all seen it, and we'll discuss all these matters in committee. So unless somebody objects, we'll waive the reading. If there's any particular ones that you would like to be read, just call that out. Otherwise, I'm just going to go right through and assign them.
Seconded.
Here we go. Number 1 is Budget and Appropriations Committee. Number 2, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Number 3, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Number 4, Public Safety and Emergency Management. Number 5, Capital Improvements. Number 6, Zoning and Land Use. Number 7, Public Safety Emergency Management. Item number 8, Budget and Appropriations. Item number 9, Public Works. Item 10, Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services. 11, Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services. 12, City Property. 13, City Property and Claims. 14, Public Safety and Emergency Management. 15, Public Safety and Emergency Management. 16, Public Works. 17, Public Safety and Emergency Management. 18, Budget and Appropriation. 19, Public Works. 20, Public Works. 21, Public Works. 22, Public Works. Madam Clerk, we're going to keep you busy before you go. 23, Budget and Appropriations. 24, Public Works. 25, Public Works. 26, Public Works. 27, Public Works. 28, Budget and Appropriations. 29, Budget and Appropriations. And 30, Budget and Appropriations. Any questions about the mayor's communication? Councilor Kobus.
For number 6, can we request a public hearing?
Yes, we can. Thank you for bringing that up. Public hearing on, Jim, I might gotta check the date. December 7th. Roll call vote will begin. Thank you for pointing that out. Roll call vote will begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yeah.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Kobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. We'll have a public hearing on that matter on December 7th. Okay.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes, sir.
just a quickie. What was number 8 assigned to?
8 was Budget and Appropriations.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other clarifications on that? Seeing none, we'll move on to the clerk's communication. And Steve, all the licenses, you can waive the reading, and we'll just refer that to license.
You want me to, what do you want me
I'm just going to go right through them.
Okay.
Actually, the first one, the automatic amusement, is to License Committee. So is the second one. License Committee, Cerrone, Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC. The other 14 Class 2 licenses are to the License Committee. There was a letter from George Spatcher to the Elections, Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee, and a letter from Joe Murphy on Steer Street, Special Committee on Senior Tax. And I've suspended the rules, so we won't be doing Committee of the Whole this evening, since there's no one here and there's no one on the Zoom. There is one matter of old business, and for that I will recognize Councilor Jackson.
Yep. You're going to give me 1 second to get
All right.
on my...
How about, wait a minute, I submitted committee,
The committee reports.
I'm going too fast.
Reports.
I forgot
Yeah.
committee reports, so we'll give you probably a half an hour.
You're confusing me there.
You did move pretty fast.
I did. Sorry about that. Because committee reports. And we'll start with Councilor Blair.
Thank you, President Cooper.
You're welcome.
Reporting for Public Safety and Emergency Management. From the docket of November 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to appropriate $508,239.27 from account 1000-35900, undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to fund 3430 shooter detection.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
Well, I think we heard tonight a very passionate presentation from our chief of police, and to me it's pretty straightforward. We want to protect our children in our schools, and I think that the chief has vented this very, very well through the supplier, and I think it's in the best interest of the city and the children that we go forward with this, especially during the construction of the new high school, where it could actually save some money rather than get the high school done and then have to go back and do some work.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yeah.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. From the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to appropriate $25,885 to, it doesn't say it, but I assume it's from account 1000-35900, undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to account 1220100-585052, fire extraction equipment.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
This is 4 units of the Jaws of Life that they use in the fire department. I assume the 4 pieces of equipment will be spread around response vehicles, and I think it's pretty
Thank you. Any additional?
self-explanatory. You want to get somebody out of a car fast or whatever, you got to have this type of equipment. So.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, a roll call.
Extrication.
We'll begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to appropriate $55,000 $116.47 from account 1000-3590000, undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to account 1220100-511000, fire, salary and wages used in order to make an earned time payment to employee who has retired.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional questions or
No,
comments?
just that this is contractual. The gentleman served his time and didn't use the time, so he's entitled to it when he retires.
Great, thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. At this time, before I close, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for a police officer that passed away after 37 years of service, Captain Buzzier. I would assume a lot of you know the name. He died this past week. He gave of his life to the city. You serve in that police department for 37 years. You certainly have performed your duty to this city. And my prayers go out to the family. I've known knew Judge for his entire life, I think. You know, he's 5 years younger than me, but a product of the East Side, which I'm very proud of. He worked for me when he first got out of the service for a few weeks or months, waiting to go on the police department. He was an honorable man. He took the job very serious, and I hope that you'll join me in a moment of silence for George and our sympathy to the family.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have no other business this evening, but I would request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Peter, you're not going to bring out the 36,000?
Excuse me?
The thermal imaging, you're not bringing that one out tonight?
I thought I did.
No. I think you skipped it.
I skipped right over that, huh?
Yeah.
You skipped over two of your motions, Peter.
He's not doing the other one.
One of
No.
them I'm not bringing forward tonight. I can't.
You meant to bring that out, didn't you?
Huh?
The
You meant to
thermal
bring that
imaging.
I
out.
meant to bring
Okay.
that out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I skipped over it.
That's fine.
That's
I
okay.
was so happy when you voted the other one. I move to appropriate 36, where are we? I move to appropriate $36,675 from account 1000-3590000, undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to account 1220100-585053, fire thermal imaging.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
This particular piece of equipment, I know we discussed it a little bit last week. This not only protects our firemen that are in a building during a fire, but it also allows, as Councilor brought to my attention last week, Councilor Jackson, when we use this equipment, we can find people that are in that building, civilians or other than just firemen. So it works both ways. Not only does it protect the firemen that's in there that might get trapped or something happen to them, and it also allows us to find people, citizens in that building. So
Thank you. Any additional?
money well spent.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yep.
Mr.
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. I now have no further business, and I would request a committee meeting the next appropriate time. And thank you very much, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, for pointing that out.
I thought you just missed it, so that was all right.
Thank you, Councilor Blair. Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, President Cooper.
You're welcome.
Reporting for Traffic and Transportation Committee, I have several items of business, but first, if it's appropriate, I need to request public hearings relating to the commercial vehicle amendments to Chapter 10 and 17. Is this an appropriate time to do so? To request those hearings?
Yes, those were assigned to your committee,
Yes.
but
Okay.
you can do that next week at the committee meetings,
Okay.
because there's no motions and it wasn't brought out from the committee, so it's not before the full council. But yes, next week, we'll both remember, I'll make myself a note to make sure those come out.
All right, thank you, President Cooper. From the docket of November 16th, 2021, I read this in committee last week, President Cooper. Would you like me to read the special act again?
That's not necessary for me unless anybody else would like it read. I'm good with waiving the reading.
So I move to approve the following special act regarding the acceptance of certain ways in Attleboro. I'll just read the beginning. Order, the city of Attleboro hereby petitions the general court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to enact the following proposed act, special act, an act providing for the laying out and acceptance of certain ways by the city of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments? Councilor DeSimone.
No, President Cooper, I think it's pretty straightforward. We discussed it last week with Gary Reagan.
Great, thank you very much. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket
Thank
of
you.
November 16th, 2021, I move to transfer $9,430.78 from account 1124100-578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 142010005858082 Public Works crosswalk systems to purchase one solar-powered crosswalk system at Starkey and Kendall.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Any additional comments?
No, President Cooper.
Thank you. A roll call will begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to transfer $2,280 from account 1124100057830 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 142010005240013 Public Works maintenance of traffic lights to fund a new LED pedestrian crossing light at Pleasant Street and Perry Ave.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any additional comments?
No, President Cooper.
Thank you. Roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to transfer $22,450 from account 1124100057830 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1420100530169 Public Works roadway and engineering to fund engineering services related to ongoing intersection improvements at South Avenue, Snell Street, Baxter Street, and Rathbun Willard Drive.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Any additional comments?
No, President Cooper.
Thank you. A roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Last up, from the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to rescind the following vote number 4 of October 5th, 2021, meeting regarding no parking to corner for Frank Mossberg Drive, as there was no public hearing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
I regret the error.
Thank you. A roll call vote will begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Copus.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, President Cooper. That concludes the business for traffic and transportation this evening, and we look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for capital improvements and city development. We have no business to bring before the council this evening. We do look forward for a meeting at the next appropriate time, and we're wiping our brow that we just picked up one item tonight.
Lucky you.
It must be nice.
Thank you. You all might get a little bit of a laugh, but the clock here says 10:10. So that's why I said let's skip through the
Old business.
let's skip through because it's 10:10, and I thought, wow, did that go by fast? And I looked at Laura, and she shook her head and went, it's not 10 o'clock.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah. All right, Councilor Waterman.
Well, moving this right along. Reporting from the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee from the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to appropriate $21,950, no cents, from account undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to account budget and administration salary and wages full-time to fund a principal clerk in the Department of Budget and Administration.
Okay.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
Well, I believe we all heard from Jeremy Stahl, our budget director, last week, that he's carrying 2 jobs, and that this is, he's doing much of the work that a clerk would be doing, and it's high time that we give that support to his department. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Man of my word, I told you I'd support it. I vote yes.
Yes? Okay. Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Did he say yes? I didn't hear him.
He did.
Okay, sorry. Ms. Dolan?
I wasn't here for the reading.
She wasn't here for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I saw you go out. Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And from the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to transfer $1,200 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Veterans Maintenance of Vehicles for funds to repair a vehicle being transferred from the school department to the Veterans Department.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
Just one. This is going to allow us to be in even better shape, bring our veterans to the VA hospitals in Providence or Brockton or West Roxbury for their medical appointments. And it's much needed. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any additional comments? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delisio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
That's a yes.
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
And from the docket of November 16th, Finally, at 2021, I move to appropriate $12,583.32 from account undesignated fund balance free cash general government to account planning and land use salary and wages full-time for funds to increase the hours of the part-time assistant conservation agent to full-time.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments? Seeing none, a roll.
It's the same, it's a similar principle to what we just voted for the budget director. The assistant conservation agent job is not enough to allow our conservation agent to be relieved from many of his more clerical duties. And this strengthens the conservation arm of our planning department. And with that, that's the message.
Thank you. A roll call will begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. DeSimone?
Yes.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
And that concludes the business of the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee. We'll meet at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Vice President Jackson.
Thank you very much, President Cooper. Reporting for the Public Works Committee this evening. On the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to rescind the vote number 27 of July 22nd, 2021, a vote to approve the replacement of Conley basketball court.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
Thank you, Councilor Delicio. Nope, I made them all last week.
Great. A roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. Councilor Jackson.
Yep, you forgot me.
Who would I forget? Oh,
Me.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you.
Thank you.
ever so kindly. On the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to rescind vote number 29 of July 22, 2021, a vote to replace Ponson Hewitt basketball court.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in
Thank you.
order. Any additional comments?
No, thank you.
Great. A roll call will begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to transfer $73,185 from the Citywide Reserve Fund for Capital account to the Recreation Outdoor Facility Improvements account to replace the 2 basketball courts with 5% contingency is being added.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
I do not.
Thank you. A roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to transfer $26.63 from the Citywide Reserve Fund for Transfer account to the park bills from previous years to pay account to pay a fiscal year 21 Lowe's invoice. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
I do not.
A roll call will begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Did you hear me?
I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Cobus?
Nope, you've got me.
You forgot Sarah.
Oh, I got what?
That was Sarah the second time that said, "Did you hear me?" You said it, but she didn't hear you, I don't think.
Yes. Let's start again.
Yes.
Let's start again. Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delisio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to appropriate $236,000, $604,051 from account Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to the Water Enterprise Fund water meters account to continue the ongoing water meter replacement program for fiscal year 2022.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any additional questions?
I do not.
So I just have one.
Go ahead.
And you don't have to give me the answer now, but I want the answer. And it won't hold up my vote, but I think this water replacement meter thing has been going on for the 10 years I've been here. So how much more time do we have? Or is it a constant thing that the old ones that we did,
yeah.
we're constantly sort of replacing a couple $100,000 worth of water meters every year?
Well, you know what, President Cooper, it's a good thing you're asking me that now, because I will tell you that next Tuesday night, I am up first on committee meeting, and I do have Superintendent of Water. She is coming before us. So, and now that I just have more stuff put into my committee, it's even better. But I'm going to have her before us next Tuesday night, so you can ask her anything you want.
All right, thank you. Councilor Blair.
I think it was mentioned this was the last of them, but
Okay.
it'd be nice to ask next week, but I think this was the
Yeah,
last round of water meters. That brought them up to the digital ones we're doing now.
I don't know, we'll ask Courtney.
Yeah.
It won't hold up my vote, but it's been going on, this water meter replacement program has been going on for a long time.
Yes, and that's a good question, and like I said, she's gonna be here next Tuesday night to talk about the new trucks that she's bringing up, she would like to request. And now I have other things that are gonna be in my committee, so it's gonna be perfect timing, and I am up number 1 next Tuesday night.
Perfect, thank you. Any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Delisio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to transfer $19,227 from the Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for transfer account to the Water Enterprise Fund Industrial Sludge Meter account to replace the sewer meter at the West Street plant.
Second.
Thank you. Councilor Delisio.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments?
I do not.
Thank you. Roll call is required and we'll begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delisio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you, motion passes.
Thank you, President Cooper. That concludes business for the Public Works Committee. I have no further business this evening, but I would like to call for a meeting at the appropriate time next week.
Great, thank you. Councilor Delisio.
We voted for budget appropriations. We have no business to bring forward tonight, so we'd like to call for a meeting next week for appropriate time, please.
Great, thank you very much. Councilor Cobus.
Thank you, President Cooper. Reporting to the Zoning Land Use Committee, we have no business tonight. Call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Dolan.
Thank you. Okay, buckle up. From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to approve the automatic amusement device license for the Portuguese American Club at 65 Prairie Avenue for a pool table and a jukebox.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
None.
Thank you. A roll call will begin with Counselor Blair.
Yep. Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to approve the automatic amusement device license for Market Basket at 1200 Newport Avenue for 2 merry-go-round rides.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
None.
Roll call will begin with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to approve the Class 3 license for Greco's Auto at 83 Dickens Street with 10 customer parking spaces and 31 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
None.
Roll call will begin with Counselor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to approve the Class 2 license for Greco's Auto at 83 Dickens Street with 10 customer parking spaces and 31 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
None.
A roll call will begin with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to approve the Class 1 license for Courtesy Kia Mitsubishi at 11 and 16 Scott Street with 34 customer spaces and 172 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
None.
Roll call will begin with Counselor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, no nays.
Thank you.
Zero
Motion
nays.
passes.
From the docket of November 16, 2021, I move to approve the Class 3 license for Tri-Town Auto at 1850 County Street for 4 customer spaces and 6 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. Counselor Dolan, the rest are Class 2. Do we have to do them all as individual motions? Why can't we put them all as one?
I thought we did that last year, but Virginia said that she mentioned to me today she separated them because they should be, I think. I don't know.
You mean reading them separately?
Yeah, I move to approve a Class 2 license for Paris Auto, Gas Plus.
There she is.
They don't have to be.
They don't have to be.
No, but we had one that was separated from the group before.
Oh.
I just thought if we just list them.
Okay.
Have at it.
Okay.
So just, I would combine all the Class 2s into one, but read the name and the address. You don't have to read the parking spaces, but the
Okay.
name and the address.
So this is going to be one vote for all of these?
For all the Class 2s.
Okay.
Okay. So
Unless there's ones you want to call out for some particular reason.
no, I really don't have anything that I didn't discuss in committee, which was really nothing major.
Okay.
So just to be clear, I left off at Paris Auto, right? I hadn't
Yes.
started that
you-
one. Okay.
That is
Start with
correct.
that, yep.
All right, so these are all, the following are from the docket of November 16, 2021 for a Class 2 license. So I move to approve the following for a Class 2 license. Paris Auto Body, 21 Chartier Street. Gas Plus, 80 Pleasant Street. Leans Auto Repair, 141 Pine Street. Lime Rock Motors LLC at 722 Washington Street. J Motor Group at 1856 County Street. Better Auto at 473 Washington Street. Tri-Town Auto Sales at 1850. Oh, this is, yeah, excuse me, this is for Class 2 still, my apologies.
Yep.
Tri-Town Auto at 1850 County Street. East Coast Auto Sales at 24 Rice Street. Classic Auto Sales at 1100 Oak Hill Avenue. North Main Street Auto at 44 North Main Street. County Auto Sales and Service at 42 County Street. JMAC at 30 Man Street. And Blue and White Motors at 1815 County Street.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments? Roll call will begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
D. Simone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That's all the business I have for License Committee, and call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Reynolds.
Thank you. Reporting for City Property and Claims Committee from the docket of November 16th, 2021. I move to accept this generous donation of a Dell Chromebook with an estimated value of $350 from Sean and Samantha Collette, owners of East Coast Auto Sound, to Hill Roberts Elementary School.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No.
Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. D. Simone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to accept the donation to the Council of Aging of a new HP laptop computer carrying case, and a wireless mount from Mr. Louis Tremblay with an estimated value of $500.
Second.
Thank you. Motion Thank you. Motion passes. That was quick. Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
D. Simone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to accept the donation of costs and services from the Department of Housing and Community Development's Massachusetts Downtown Initiative to the Local Rapid Recovery Plan Program to aid local businesses with effects from COVID.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
I have none.
Thank you. A roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. D. Simone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
On the docket of November 16th, 2021, I move to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Two vehicles in very poor condition. One is a 2003 Ford F-350 dump, and the second one is a 2004 Ford Expedition.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
And none.
A roll call will begin with Counselor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Lucio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That is all the business the city clerk and claims committee has this evening. I would like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Holmes.
Thank you. I just have a brief update. The letter from Mr. Spatcher explains that he was talking to the secretary's office right now about the redistricting, so I will have an update for that and bring it up next time.
Okay. Anything else in your committee meeting at the next appropriate time?
I'll run a committee meeting at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. There is one item of old business, and for that I will recognize Counselor Jackson.
Thank you very much, President Cooper. Oops. I'm unmuted. Okay. I move to accept the following Scrivener's error from November 2nd, 2021. The following Scrivener's error was on the certificate of vote dated November 2nd, 2021, Attleboro Municipal Council meeting. Number 4, voted on roll call 11 yeas, 0 nays to approve the appropriation of $53,379.80 from account 112410000-578300 statewide reserve fund transfer to account 1650100-587039 Park heavy truck to purchase a 2022 Ford F-350 truck with a Fisher plow. It should read, number 4, voted on roll call 11 yeas, 0 nays to approve the transfer of $53,379.80 from account 112410000-578300 citywide reserve fund to transfer to account 165010000-587039 Park heavy truck to purchase a 2022 Ford F-350 truck with a Fisher plow. Thank you.
Who was the second?
Who seconded that? Counselor Waterman.
Yeah.
I did.
Thank you. So yes, this was just a Scrivener's error in the certificate of vote. Just one word that was, we had appropriation in one and then it's supposed to be transfer. Period. End of story.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, a roll call will begin with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Lucio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yeah.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. That's all I have, President.
Thank you very much. And moving on to new business, and I will recognize Counselor DeSimone.
Thank you, President Cooper. The first item up is a resolution regarding exempting Attleboro from certain requirements of the Civil Service Act as they pertain to hiring and recruitment. This comes from Councilor Blair and I after a meeting with Chief Hegney, whose frustration I noticed in a couple of communications to the council recently where he expressed concern and difficulties with recruiting and hiring new officers. So I reached out to him, Councilor Blair and I met with him, and it resulted in this petition, which would help, I believe, the chief will come when he speaks, will tell you that it will help him hopefully recruit more recruits, as he is struggling, as are many police departments from all over the Commonwealth and the country, number one. Number two, as you may see in the paper and heard, There are several municipalities of late looking into getting rid of civil service entirely. I'm thinking of Rentham and Foxborough most recently. I believe Framingham was one of the largest municipalities to do it. I'm not sure that's a step that we want to take at this particular time. So I think that this resolution poses kind of an elegant solution to the immediate problem of attracting new and more diverse officers to the Attleboro Police Department. Thank you.
So I just start at the top with new business, move to refer for study and recommendation, and just you had such a great story, and then the first paragraph there, so individuals understand that might be watching what this is beyond your comments. Thank you.
My apologies, my zeal got the best of me. I move to refer for study and recommendation the following new business. Resolution for the Attleboro Municipal Council. I move to petition the General Court to enact the following legislation providing for the exemption of the City of Attleboro from Chapter 31 of the General Laws as they concern the recruitment and hiring of full-time permanent police officers, provided that the legislature may reasonably vary the form and substance of the requested legislation within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition.
Thank you. I'm going to just waive the. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, I'm just going to read the next statement. This act is to exempt the City of Attleboro from the provisions of Chapter 31 of the General Laws as they concern the recruitment and hiring of full-time permanent police officers.
Thank you. We'll waive.
Second motion.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. Any additional comments, Councilor DeSimone?
Yeah, well, forgive me, President Cooper, for speaking out of order. Just one more item, to be perfectly clear. This would exempt Attleboro from the provisions relating to recruitment and hiring. Once an officer completes his or her training, isn't hired by the department, they would be, what's the word I'm looking for, enrolled in or participate in the civil service for all the other officers.
Great,
So.
thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote will begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Dolan? Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Kovas?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you.
President Cooper?
Yes.
Who was the second on that one?
Councilor Conti.
Thank you. I heard you say his name, but...
And that matter will be referred to Public Safety and Emergency Management Committee, please.
Thank you.
And Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, President Cooper. This is from Councilor Blair and I as well regarding a parking issue that Councilor Blair was alerted to about parking on Stobbs Drive, apparently by Bishop Fan students and or staff members, parking on both sides and causing a potential safety issue.
Thank you. And again, start from the top and then we'll.
I move to refer for study recommendation the following new business, amending section 10-5.2A of the revised ordinances to prohibit parking on Stobbs Drive, westerly side from the North Avenue to Commonwealth Avenue.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional comments, Councilor DeSimone?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Any questions from the council? The roll call vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Mr. Kovas?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yeah.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. And that can, yes.
You're going to sign that?
Oh.
I requested, if I may, that you assign it to public safety. I discussed that with Ms. DeSimone, and she's having trouble getting a quorum together because she doesn't have enough members.
Traffic study.
So to facilitate this, where it is a public safety situation, if it would be assigned to, I'm requesting. that it
Yes,
be
Public
signed.
Safety and Emergency Management
Yeah.
Committee, please. Yep.
Thank you, appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I want to thank Clerk Withers here in the council because this will likely be his last meeting as a city clerk in the council chamber. Because the rest of our meetings, as you know, will be remote via Zoom. So Steve, thank you. We'll do all the formal thank yous and kissing and hugging another day, but I wanted to personally thank you for all your help as the council president. Additionally, I want to say that this is likely my last meeting in the council chamber.
And I'd like to thank you.
And for almost 20 years, I have been sitting in this council chamber, either in the third seat on this side of the horseshoe or in this one in the middle. And so I want to personally thank all of you, but personally thank the citizens of the city throughout the entire city, not just Ward 2, all the city workers, and most importantly, my family that sacrificed for the last 20 years to allow me to serve the citizens of the city. So, my last meeting in the council chambers, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call.
Yes.
Notice he didn't say the kissing and hugging on his, he just said it on
I
Steve.
had no idea you're gonna do this speech being the last time that you're gonna be there, because you're not. You'll be there on the 30th. You might have a special meeting. I hope we don't.
Please.
Likely to be my last meeting. Anything can happen, right? But
Anything can happen.
when I was here, as you know, I come early on Tuesdays and I meet with Virginia and Steve and the mayor. And Virginia said, this is going to be Steve's last meeting in the council chamber. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, because the rest of our meetings will be remote. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. This will be my last meeting in the council chamber if the rest of our meetings are remote.
That's why I came tonight, really. That's why I came tonight.
Is it?
Instead of doing Zoom, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So again, thank you all. And I will entertain the motion to adjourn. And roll call will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Mr. Kovas.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
You'll both be missed, yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yeah.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 9:47. Thank you.
And you kisses.
Thanks.